This is AUGforums.com Real Talk. Real Talk. First, thank you to our sponsors, APS Payments, Kenzium, and Velixo. You can learn more about how our sponsors work with Acumatica by going to augforums.com/sponsors. My name is Tim Rodman, and I'm coming to you live on Friday, August 7th, 2020, from a road trip stop in Joseph, Utah, which is a tiny town off Interstate 70 with a population of less than 500 and an elevation of about 5,400 feet. This is episode number 20, Acumatica in Australia as MYOB with Carl Brooks. And I've got Carl on the phone here. Carl, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, first, Tim, thanks for having me on. I really do love the work you do with Acumatica, and great to be a part of these blog series. My role at MYOB is I'm the partner manager for the ecosystem. And before joining MYOB, I had a bit of a varied past. Started my working tenure off at a company called British Aerospace, which is now BAE Systems. Worked in the military division. Started off as a commercial apprentice, which meant I had work placements around the business. So I worked in places like procurement, subcontracting, the shop floor, Saudi contracts, finance, flight operations, just so I got a good overview of how the business worked. And after my apprenticeship, the company was in a bit of trouble. We lost a couple of orders from the government, and luckily the apprentices that finished their apprenticeship managed to or were promised work, and unfortunately the work is where I didn't really want to be. It was in the finance office and doing AP, so I was just lucky to have a job.
Run, right?
Finance, AP, yeah. The whole company hates you, Why are you not paying our invoices? Why is our budget so small? So I stuck around, and actually the finance, I enjoyed it. It was good. You learned a lot. The auditors came in. We spoke to the auditors. Dealing with the Ministry of Defence was fun. But really, I was itching to do something a bit more technical. And luckily, I had a complete 180-degree turn in my career, whereby I managed to get myself a gig in the research and development department. And my job was basically ballistic damage and survivability studies of future aircraft. It's a great title, isn't it?
That sounds pretty cool.
Well, in summary, all I did was blow things up, and we collected a lot of data.
That sounds even better.
It was good. So we used to rig up a structure of the airframe. The airframe we rigged up was obviously the fuel tank, because that's where missiles like to fly towards, and basically jacked it up as if it was flying in the sky, and then basically shot it. And we had all our data sensors, and we had all our cameras watching it. And basically what we were doing was collating data. And that's really where my love of IT became, because I really understood what the value of data was. And what we were doing, and this was back in '96, we were basically part of a European project, which was basically to reduce the time it takes to get an aircraft from the drawing board into the sky, because you can imagine the amount of R&D in building an airplane, be it commercial or military. And that's how I got into IT. And while I was in that role, I did a couple of cool things. I built a couple of databases for some in-house products, but one of the best things I did was I built a knowledge-based management system. So we had our company intranet. I had my SQL database. I sourced Adobe. We never used Adobe in the company back in '97. So we had Adobe Writer and Reader, so we could capture documents and then share it. And basically what we did was every bit of R&D work we did, so going back to the blowing stuff up. We basically collated all that data and basically gave that to our computer people to simulate programs, so that all of that could be done by the use of computer rather than collecting manual data. So going back to what I was doing, all of this research work I did was basically, documented up, signed off, and then put in a filing cabinet. And we just repeated the process. So you can imagine we had filing cabinets and filing cabinets dotted around the office with all of this R&D work in, and really no way to, look and think, well, what did we do 5 years ago? So I set upon it to build up a management system whereby take all of that data and basically the executive summary of that report. So basically you go into the management solution, type in a few keywords, apply a few filters, and the reports would come up that you would have. And based on the title, you may think, oh, that looks interesting. Based on the title, you may think, oh, that looks interesting. And you clicked on the report title and it brought up the executive summary in Adobe PDF. And then if you read the executive summary and you really did interest you, the system told you in which area in the office it was sitting, location-wise. So it would tell you it's in cupboard 10, in box 8, and you go over. And then you had a sign-in, sign-out system as well. So if you took the document, you signed out. So if somebody else was interested in that document, they knew where it was in the business. So that really did drive me towards the IT. And luckily, British Aerospace decided to go with Barn for their ERP software. So that's where the finance background kind of came back and helped me, because I rang up the guys at Barn and basically asked for a job. There was no job available. I just basically made one available, and they said, yep, come and work for us. You'll help us out on this. They put me in the CRM part of the business, working with Barclays Bank and other financial institutes. So yeah, I stuck around at Barn. So I left England in 2000, moved to Amsterdam, and then spent my next 7 years living in Holland. After a kind of like a disastrous year at Barn, in those 2000s, the dot-com bubble where anything was possible, moved off and went to work for a more serious player called Exact, which you guys, I think, in America would know of Exact, because we bought the Macola product in 2001, 2002, which has now been sold off to ECI. And I believe a lot of the Macola partners are now partnering up with Acumatica and bringing their customers across.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, my tenure at Exact was cool. I was in a team which was known as the Flying Doctors. So we basically resolved issues that were happening around the globe. If an implementation was going bad in Romania, we would then, come in and fix that up. And then luckily, I was now looking for an exit strategy from Holland after 5 years, and I stuck around a little longer because I heard winds that there was an office opening in Australia. And when the office opened in Australia, I bailed out at the first opportunity to enjoy the lovely Australian weather. So yeah, stuck around in Australia for the past 14 years. I did about 3 years further with Exact. I had a great opportunity to fix up the client base over in Australia. We acquired a whole bunch of clients from one of our partners that wanted to exit. So we had a transition of moving them across, and obviously helping them with the understanding of the products. And then I had enough of corporate life, and I decided to test myself in startup world, and did 3 years with a startup company that was part of the MYOB ecosystem. And then 3 years into that tenure, and I managed to grow the business by just under 100%, which annoys me, because that would have took us to a pretty cool milestone. But I didn't see the same direction as the owner had, and decided to part ways. And luckily, at that time of not seeing eye to eye with the owner, I saw an opportunity at MYOB, and here I am 8 years later, still at MYOB, and loving the journey, especially the journey that we've been presented by partnering up with Acumatica.
So I've got to point out for those geographically challenged Americans like myself, we live over here on our little island, so you've got an English accent, not an Australian accent, so I got to point that out. You're in Australia, but you're English. You've got quite a cool journey there. And, before we get into what you've done in MYOB, maybe, especially since you had experience with an MYOB product before even joining MYOB, give us the lay of the land on what MYOB has been historically before even getting involved with Acumatica. The way I see it is it's like in the US, we have QuickBooks, which is the dominant player for small companies just getting started. And I look at MYOB as like the QuickBooks of Australia, but maybe that's an oversimplification. Maybe you could help us understand what MYOB has done historically.
Yeah, well, that's it's not a bad comparison, and we do also struggle here in Australia to inform people that we do more than just the accounting software. So MYOB is a company, I don't know, about 25 years old. Started off with an accounting package, and obviously rode that .com boom. And like most companies, because we were the local player, we managed to dominate the local landscape. And obviously, as we started to grow, we then started to acquire, and then we obviously started to diversify. So, but our core strength is the accounting solution. To assist us with being the dominant player in the accounting solution, we entered the practice management area, which is, and obviously with having that direct line and communication with the accountants obviously helps us in supporting our growth and maintaining our growth of the accounting solutions. So Xero has obviously come up and shook the tree. We're probably 50-50 with Xero in terms of the accounting solutions in Australia. With the accounting practices, we're about 60% of the accounting practices using our solutions. And then about just over 10 years ago, Enterprise Division, which I'm a part of, was formed. And one thing that we were seeing was clients were moving away from our accounting solution as they grew and became successful. So we decided that we needed to keep those clients on board, and we needed to offer them an ERP solution to keep them within the MYOB family. So that's when we bought a New Zealand company called Exonet. And we bought Exonet and rebranded that to MYOB Exo and launched that around about 2008 and ran with that product pretty much until 2014. Then that's when we signed our agreements with Acumatica to bring Acumatica to Australia. And in 2016, we went off and bought another Kiwi ERP product called Greentree. And there's a couple of reasons for buying that. Was one, it's had a decent sized client base. Second, we realized we could run the business a bit better. And thirdly, it also came with a channel, and that channel did attract us because if we wanted to sell more of the Acumatica product, then increasing channel capacity is obviously a good way of going about achieving that aim. So
interesting. I didn't realize you guys acquired Greentree. The only time I've ever heard of that was one partner, I believe they were called VBS in the Chicago area in the United States, and they eventually got acquired by Crestwood. John Gabrice is one of the key people there, and they actually carried Greentree. Only time I ever heard of it. So now you've got a relationship there between, even in the U.S., between Greentree and an Acumatica partner. It's interesting.
Yeah, and we've had John speak at a couple of our conferences, getting that perspective of how to go up against NetSuite. And he does resonate really well with our partners because of that relationship, and obviously selling Acumatica as well.
And I didn't realize that you brought Acumatica in not on the first wave of your enterprise solution. I guess I always assumed that it was your first foray into the larger space, the customers who were leaving the existing MYOB product. So it was really like would you think of it as like a second go at it when you brought on Acumatica?
Well, definitely, and we were still under management of Bain at that time, and back in 2012, Bain challenged us to have a cloud product, and he said you need to have a cloud product in market by 2015. So part of our 3-year strategy as we entered into 2012 was at the end of that 3 years be market ready with a cloud product. And that's when we started off our journey with finding possible solutions to work with or possible solutions to acquire. The build from scratch scenario wasn't really an option. However, we have done that. We've done all three basically. We partnered with Acumatica and we OEM'd the solution. We made an investment into Acumatica, I believe, at the end of 2014 that allowed us to have a seat on the board, which we had Andrew Birch represent us. Obviously, with the recent acquisition of IF by the venture capital company, we've lost that piece. But using the Acumatica framework, we've also built out our payroll solution from scratch. So bringing Acumatica here to Australia and New Zealand, we kind of did all three things. You know, making buying a stake in Acumatica and using the framework to develop it out. So we're the only integrated ERP and payroll product in market over here. And yeah, while labeling the Acumatica products. So it allowed us to really...
Payroll.
Sorry?
Like on the payroll side, you built a payroll product in the Acumatica framework. Did that mean that someone had to be running the rest of the solution, or were they able to just license the payroll?
You can just license the payroll. So
interesting.
Yeah. So we're actually... It's an interesting comment you made there. We're actually going to market direct with our payroll solution. So Enterprise also bought a solution called Pay Global back in, I think it was, and this was just a payroll only solution aimed at the tier 1 type businesses. So businesses paying 2,000 employees and upwards. So we've got quite a lot of domain experience playing in that area. And again, that product is an on-premise product, but we also host it. But now we do have a true SaaS payroll solution that we can take to market. And we've just started that process of going direct for those large client acquisitions that just want payroll only, payroll and workforce management solution.
Very interesting. I always like hearing stories of large transaction volumes that are pushing through the Acumatica platform. Seems like we hear about that happening more and more. It just shows it can handle scale. That's very interesting. Definitely. So maybe give us and maybe this is mainly for folks who are on MYOB. If you're on MYOB, you see Acumatica release features, and then it takes a little bit until they reach the MYOB product. And I think also if you're on MYOB, you're maybe reading some of the materials about Acumatica and seeing some functionality and wondering if it's shared between the two. And the way I picture it in my head is like a Venn diagram with two circles that are mostly overlapping, but there's some stuff that only Acumatica does and some stuff that only MYOB does, I assume. Maybe kind of paint the picture of what the differences are in between the two products.
Yes, we made some clear differences between Acumatica, how they go to market with their solution. The main differences we decided to make was we we just go pure SaaS. We don't offer on-premise, and with not offering the on-premise um, solution, there's obviously some pieces of functionality that we instantly lose. Also, we license it on a concurrent user basis rather than a database size and the volume of the processing power that you would need to run Acumatica. Um, and that's allowed us to kind of sell the solution based on a model that here in Australia people are more familiar with. We did go to market and ask if the Acumatica way of selling the product would resonate to our market, and the feedback was it would be a difficult sell. So we decided to go down the concurrent user routes like a Salesforce, for example. And we split Acumatica into 3 different editions. So full Acumatica is what we call the Enterprise Edition. And then we've got a watered down version of Acumatica called the Plus and Standard Edition. And that just allows us to price Acumatica differently here in Australia for the market. So if you are a smaller business not wanting all the features, then we can offer it to you at a lower price point. But as you grow as a business and those features become desirable, then we just upgrade you to the Enterprise Edition to enjoy those features. So again, it's a bit like our model of taking somebody from the accounting account right live product. So once they outgrown that, depending on where they are on their journey, they may go to the standard edition of advanced, or they may go to the plus edition of advanced, or they may go to the enterprise. But either way, we can put them in at a particular point in time at a particular price point that suits them to what they're looking to achieve as a business. The other difference that we made is we decided to go down the route of using a MySQL database rather than a SQL database. And then other than that, we follow the Acumatica rollout. So as we roll out, with it being a SaaS model, everybody gets pretty much upgraded at the same time. Now what we do is when we release our upgrades, we work with our partner community and our ISV community to basically let them know when their customers will be upgraded. So any dev work that's been done, any ISV that they've connected to their solution, we can have a window of opportunity to ensure that when we upgrade their site, it's business continuity as expected. So there's a lot of work in the background that we do to ensure that when clients get upgraded, we make sure that there's no hiccups, there's no errors happening. The system just works as we expect. And one thing that we found is by being a little behind Acumatica, it's a bit more favorable to our clients. So with any kind of software upgrade, there's naturally things that may break. So we obviously learn the lessons from yourselves before we then take that into our marketplace. So one thing is, customers are looking at those new features and going, I wish I had them now, but it's also good to let someone else endure the pain of upgrades before we take an upgrade on here in Australia.
That's a great point. Yeah, it's nice to have the shiny new toy, but when you're relying on a critical back office process, it's not always so nice to have a nice shiny new toy. Yeah, that's I can see that as an advantage.
And it's like anything. If you bring a new motor vehicle to market, the first manufacturing run of that vehicle is the first time they've put it together. So it's maybe better waiting year 1, year 2, year 3 for that new motor vehicle, because by the time they've built 100 cars of them, they're better experienced. And once they've built 1,000 of those cars, they're even better experienced. So yeah, it's not just software that has those issues.
What about module-wise when it comes to the modules that are in the core Acumatica product, and even which will in the near future include the construction functionality and even the manufacturing functionality? Is it as simple as just mapping those features into the appropriate version of MYOB, or are there some limitations and probably some extra stuff that MYOB has built out? What are some of the differences there?
So with the manufacturing solution, we've been selling that through the ecosystem until JAS sold out to Acumatica. So we had JAS locally here in Australia, selling the product, working with Alvars, ensuring the implementations went well, and driving our growth in the manufacturing sector. Now that Acumatica have acquired JAS, it's a different ballgame now. So that has allowed us to actually go down the route of the manufacturing edition. We have just launched that probably 2 months ago into the Australian market officially. Prior to that, we were just selling it as if it was part of the ecosystem. With the construction edition, we're still working through that, and the plan is to have that ready in Q3 this year. What we're finding is we're learning a lot from what Acumatica has learned. From what we hear from Acumatica, there isn't a one-size-fits-all for construction. So if you go into various construction deals, each of those deals may have a different requirement. So learning what Acumatica have learned over the past, I think it is 8. So again, this is the other benefit of partnering with Acumatica. You know, in the early days when we worked with Acumatica back in 2015, we saw there was a little bit of lack of maturity in some areas of the business, but obviously that's developed and grown. So back in 2015, or 2014 as well, we could provide some assistance in certain areas. And the nice thing is we're now learning a lot from Acumatica, so it's a good relationship that we can both learn from each other. And we're working through those learnings with Acumatica, and we hope to have construction available in Q3 this year. Now, as we roll that out into our marketplace, we'll then obviously start learning ourselves and be able to pass feedback to Acumatica. On that. But as a platform, minus the construction, minus the manufacturing, we just sell the whole solution. You know, you may not want contracts, you may not want fixed assets, but they're there, they're visible. We can, you know, by user permissions, we can make them disappear. But it's a good way of selling your software is by ensuring that the visibility is there. That you know, after you sold an ERP solution, we fixed the pain points of what they're trying to achieve, and then 6 months, 12 months later, they may come and say, "Look, we're interested in fixed assets. Tell us more about it." And we hope that what they see in the module is sufficient enough for them to buy more users, which is the end game, isn't it? You know, not just getting a client site, but getting a client but getting a client on board and then getting more share out of that client with your product. So we don't hide things away. But yeah, the manufacturing and the construction edition is really new to us at the moment. So yeah, we'll learn a lot, and hopefully from what we learn, we'll set ourselves up for success in 2021.
When it comes to common ground, one thing I see a lot on augforums.com from yourself and a number of other MYOB users is in the reporting area, because that's really the same thing. I mean, you don't even have to map much of anything there between Acumatica and MYOB. So I tend to see a lot of activity there in the reporting areas.
Yeah, reporting.
But
I do worry sometimes about how certain people come to reporting. I mean, my background from building databases means I I'm very in tune with what is required from a report because I understand data. I understand data better from a structural point of view than probably a transactional point of view. So I think, if you're somebody who's out there and wants to do reporting, my advice to you would be just get a look under the hood and start looking at the database first before jumping into reports and start looking at data. One of the things I used to do on the reporting side when training people is go through basically, put on a customizer user role, show them how to find things, fields, by clicking on a field. And but one of the things I did like, and there used to be a table. I can't remember. I think it was AR balances would contain customer balances, but there was a table called AP balances that would be basically blank. So I used to use that as an example of what you learn in one part of the system is not necessarily what you can use in another part of the system. And there's a few things to watch out for in Acumatica that applies to that logic. A bit like the automation steps in SO and PO. By adding reports, it's not really available in AP and AR. But those are just the nuances of any software, isn't it?
yeah, I would second that word of caution. I think you get under the hood of any ERP system, right? You have different areas that are built at different times and by different teams. It's a lot
Yes.
easier to make the front end look consistent. The back end tends to just be left. So you just have to learn those nuances and get up to speed on it. I totally agree.
And that was a great way to learn Dutch because when I was working in Holland, unfortunately, the database names were in Dutch, not English. So Activa was assets, Bedrijf was company, Dagboek was a journal. So
Dutch is not an easy language to learn, from what I've heard. That's pretty impressive.
yeah, I will. I will not share my first Dutch phrase I learned with you.
It sounds you've done a lot of different roles. I'm curious. Your main role now sounds like being involved with the ISV ecosystem, but it sounds like you still wear multiple hats there. I mean, what's a typical day look like? What's a typical day look like for you? Is it mostly in the ISV space, or are you just kind of doing whatever needs to be done?
So my role should be 100% in the ISV community. But that role I was officially placed into April this year. Before then, I was partner enablement. So that would include pitching Acumatica to partners who wanted to join our partner network. Once we sign up a new partner, work with them on training the consultants up on the product, then working with their pre-sales guys to get sales in, and then working with their implementers to get the solution delivered. So yeah, I had a real big hand in. So MYOB is like Acumatica. We don't go direct. MYOB is like Acumatica. We don't go direct. We have a VAR network that sells a solution for us. However, when we launched Acumatica in Australia, I did see it as an opportunity to work more closely with the partners. With the EXO product or Exonet product that we bought, partners had been implementing that for 10 years prior to MYOB's ownership. So there was not really much assistance that we could offer a business partner of VAR on that product. But once we launched Acumatica, all partners were on level 1 and have to work the way up. So I did identify that that any business partner was pitching Acumatica to a customer two questions would be asked at the end of any demonstration. How many clients do you have, and who are your reference sites? And we would be, and who are your reference sites? And we would be, the business partner would be saying 0 and 0. And that to anybody who's not in the IT industry would just purely think, well, that's great. We're the guinea pig. You're going to learn with us, and nobody likes that. Nobody likes that situation. So in that early instance of launching Acumatica, and also with any new business partner we bring on board, we at MYOB, and especially myself at MYOB, there's a couple of others that also did this as well. But I would go along, do the pre-sales, and at the end of the demonstration, when these questions were being asked, we would say, well, we don't have any clients and we don't have any reference customers. However, MYOB's delivered the demonstration, so anything that we've seen today, if it doesn't work, here's MYOB, you can complain to them. If it doesn't work, here's MYOB, you can complain to them. And also, if you do sign today, MYOB is going to be shadowing us on this implementation. Now, we know how to implement. We've got a methodology. We've got 300 clients successfully implemented. So we know what we're doing. However, it is a new software. We admit that. We're not experts at it at this moment in time, but we've got the vendor here supporting us. And this support we'll only have for the first 3 sites, which we want you to be one of them. And at the end of this, we expect you to be our reference customer. So I gained a lot of kudos from a lot of the internal and external partners that we work with by going down this process. So my job should be 100% ISV. However, I can have the marketing team say, hey, we want some advice to put past you on what we're running as a campaign. Me, you know, I've got a gap in the solution. You know, who in the ecosystem fits this, or you know, I've got this potential deal, but I'm not sure if this feature is available. Can you help me? And then I get the partners. You know, some of the partners I've worked with over the past 5 years, some of them will still reach out to me and say, look, I've got this query, I'm trying to do this report, you know, how would you go about doing it? Such as, you know, spend time brainstorming the situation out with them on what could be achieved. But yeah, no, it should really be 100% ISV. And look, we've done quite a bit of work with the Acumatica ISVs. We've had some success with the likes of IIG. We had success with JAS. The guys at Kensium have been working with us. Also, Netstock and B2B Gateway. They've been working with us, and my favourite's Gabrielle from Valexio. I remember Gabrielle coming into the ecosystem nearly 2 years ago, about November 2018. So when I saw the Valexio solution, I reached out to Gabrielle and I said, Gabrielle, you can sell so much of this here in Australia. This solution is just what we need. And I'm glad he came on board, and he has been a success, and our partner community loved the Valexio solution.
I love working with Gabrielle. So sharp. I mean, his whole team, and yeah, great product too. That's awesome. Yeah, it sounds like your experience there is very similar to the Acumatica experience in the States, and I appreciate you sharing that story just about the early days of the partner ecosystem. I think it was very, very similar here, right? In the beginning, you had a lot of partners that signed up, but most of them weren't really committed or doing transactions, but you still had a commitment to that. Acumatica still did not sell direct, and it's a lot of commitment to get a partner ecosystem going and getting momentum. And it sounds like you took the same approach down there, and it's not easy in the beginning, but hopefully by this point it's paid off for you, and you have that level of trust with the partners that allows you to scale faster in the future.
It does, and it's funny how we see our partners grow with the product as well, and with that growth, it does create them challenges, and it's the best way of solving those challenges is by selling more solution. So as they grow as a business and they have a bigger payroll to look after, it's payroll to look after. It's very beneficial for us.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
But going back to my role of the ecosystem, one thing I really do enjoy about this is with being a bit of a technologist. I've not been dedicated to the role of ERP all my life. I've done ERP, CRM. I've done my own stuff when I was at British Aerospace. Does mean I'm interested in technology. I do like what technology does. I love this digital transformation journey that customers are taking by going to the cloud. And I feel that the digital transformation journey of going to the cloud with an accounting solution or an ERP solution is basically your first step. There's a whole next level that we can go to, and that's part of my job. Is digital transformation strategy looks, and my role obviously is in the connected business by having an ecosystem that we can connect into Acumatica. And I always tell the partners, I mean, when a client comes to you, they're looking to solve, maybe a number of pain points that they have because their accounting solution doesn't cover those. And VRP, we solve those pain points, and 6 months later, or 12 months later, the customer has a whole bunch of new pain points to deal with in the business. It's like anything in life, you constantly have a to-do list. You constantly have pain points that you have. It's just some are louder than others. So some pain points you don't hear because they're not that loud, but there's other pain points that are louder. So I always try to inform the channel that once you have a conversation with them, what is the next pain point that they have in their business? And that's where the ecosystem can come in and help. We cannot look at the ERP system to do everything. And in some cases, the ERP system is basically a financial record of facts. But there's other things that happen in the business that can be coupled with that financial record of fact. So being able to get data to be shared and automated and connected, and then with the advancements we're making with AI and machine learning, and getting all of those connected businesses into a data warehouse where we can then look at it and make those informed decisions, and we can make those informed decisions a lot quicker now. Will set yourself up for success. And this step that we're taking customers to with going to an online ERP is just the first step in the digital transformation. And I think it's our jobs as technologists and business people to take our clients on that journey. I always look at it, and I do explain to people that let's say I'm not in the technology space. I decided to create a hardware store, and I was very successful. I sourced the best equipment, the best tools, the lowest price, and I beat my competition. I don't know anything about technology. My domain experience is about hardware tools and where to source them from, and how to get that information. So I need some help. I need a business partner that will come in and help me with the ERP solution, but also look after me with, giving me the ERP solution, but also look after me with, giving me that advice on technology. And I think that's one thing that we should really keep in mind is not just keep our focus on Acumatica as being the solution, but it is the solution in some cases, but it's not the end of the solution. When we're looking after our clients, there's going to be a time where they need more than Acumatica, and maybe that is getting them to connect business applications together. Maybe that's getting them to use solutions from the ecosystem that we have, or maybe it's just working with them and providing extra consulting. Going back into a business and saying, well, now as a business, you've changed from 2 years ago when we implemented it. So therefore, Acumatica needs to be changed to how you operate. So I think that's a thing that's very close to my heart.
I completely agree with you. I mean, if you are seriously committed to not just starting on a digital transformation journey, but continuing on that journey, Acumatica or MYOB is just the start. If you stay on that journey long enough, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when you're going to be interested in an ISV product, right? And I'm curious, you mentioned a few ISV products from the Acumatica ecosystem that have found their way over to the MYOB ecosystem. What about the reverse? Can you think of anyone in the MYOB ecosystem who maybe we haven't heard of yet and might be worth checking out in the Acumatica ecosystem?
Yeah, there are a few. There's a company called Peppery and Opmetrics that do field sales. So they will go in and go to, say, on a promo, that the promo area that the product should be in is maintained well, or just checking that the product on shelf is stocked adequately. Also going into businesses and basically, if I'm taking an order in the field, I don't want to take an order as if I'm a back office operator going through a sales order in Acumatica. I really want to be able to have my tablet, have a nice catalog of the products, which you can see the item of the product and be able to browse through it and say, look, I want some of that, some of that, some of that. And then just basically just pick and choose what you want. And then that's basically your order. So those are two products that I know are in discussion with Acumatica. We also have Focus, which is a BI tool. They're already in the Acumatica ecosystem. And there's one solution that I really do like. However, I advised them if I was in their position, I would partner with Acumatica first because of the opportunity size in the US. And then once you build your solution for Acumatica, that could be recycled to be used in MYOB. And that's a solution called Afex that do foreign payments at a cheaper rates than the banks, and also at a better exchange rate. So that's quite an exciting solution.
Interesting.
Yeah, but look, if there's any Acumatica ISV in North America that wants to expand their addressable market and come and work with MYOB, they're more than happy to reach out to myself. We do provide a lot of support in helping them be successful over the first 6 months, because I'm not interested in just collecting ISVs, and so I've got a new badge to display my apps marketplace. I really want an ISV to partner with MYOB and get value out of the relationship. Likewise, we will get value out of that relationship working with them.
Excellent. Yeah, you mentioned marketplace on a previous episode. I was talking to Christian Lindberg, and he was talking about things Acumatica is doing with their marketplace. Do you have a separate one, I assume, for MYOB that you all are working on?
We do, and again, like anything, we're not standing still. We are maturing in this space. So our developer program and ecosystem is about 5 years old. And we're looking to probably modernize what we're doing with our ISVs. So all of that's in planning stage at the moment, but it is something that we're wanting to improve the experience of our ISV community with working with MYOB.
You mentioned market size. I'm curious, feel free to say you can't comment on it, but I'm curious. Acumatica says, I believe last number I've seen was around 5,200 customers. Does MYOB publish those numbers, or what kind of ballpark are you all in?
So we pretty much the similar number. However, it's split over our three products. So our EXO product has about 60% of those clients. So 60% of our clients are on EXO, and then 20% are on Advanced, and 20% are on Green Tree. So it's quite exciting for us that there's a huge opportunity with our EXO client base that we can take them on this journey to the cloud. COVID has probably been the silver lining there, that people will really be thinking, is on-premise the answer? So EXO is an on-premise solution, and yeah, we may see some migrations, and we do have a strategy in play on getting those clients who do wish to migrate to cloud solution, that they will come to Acumatica with MYOB.
Yeah, I've been hearing similar optimism in the States. I mean, on the one hand, the economy is getting just completely trashed. On the other hand, for a cloud ERP product like Acumatica or MYOB Advanced, there's a lot of optimism, and you might not even see a long-term dip in sales because companies are trying to figure out how to do their back office from home, right? And they're running into a lot of pain points with these legacy systems.
And I recently participated in a Microsoft training day on data warehousing, and one of the stats they put up was out of the number of businesses that they surveyed, 68% of them said they would be out of business in 4 years if they didn't adopt a digital transformation strategy now. So I think that really does say a lot, that even if businesses are struggling to find the cash to move to cloud from on-premise, they're already thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's make or break. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I'm curious, Carl, anything else you want to bring up? I want to be respectful of your time. Any other things you wanted to discuss?
I'm fine, Tim. I really enjoyed today's session and catch up with you. I love the work you do on the Acumatica forums. I think you're a great ambassador for Acumatica. I'm right in thinking you won't work now for one of the Acumatica partners, so you're at the coalface. You experience the true Acumatica.
That's right. Yep. I like keeping it real, and I'm in that mode right now.
Yeah, I mean, I like to get down to the coalface as often as possible. I don't really, ivory tower too much. You can get a blurred vision, so I do like to come down and speak with the partners and find out what's happening in their world. And yeah, so good.
Well, hey, I appreciate you coming on. You're actually, I was thinking about it. Everyone else so far that I've interviewed on these, I've actually met in person. You, I haven't met in person, and I've never even talked to before. So I think this has made me a lot more comfortable to say, come one, come all, anyone who would like to record an episode. I might not even have talked to you before, and Carl is an example of that. And I think we did a good job, right? So thanks for jumping on and being the guinea pig on unmet, untalked to guest, and still being brave enough to come on.
Yeah, hopefully that will open the floodgates and scary.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate the time.
Cool. Enjoy your evening. Have a great day.
All right. Well, that's it for now. We'll catch you on the next episode of AUGforums.com Real Talk. Thanks for listening, and take care.